Yeah, my name is Group Captain Mark Larter. I'm the Multinational Task Force Commander here at COPE North 20, and I'm also the Officer Commanding 95 Wing in the Royal Australian Air Force. So I'm leading the Multinational Task Force that comprises of three air forces. That's the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force, the United States Air Force, and of course the Royal Australian Air Force as well. And what I'm trying to achieve here, along with my compatriots, is the humanitarian aid and disaster relief component of Exercise COPE North. And really that's about establishing an airhead, and that will enable really the establishment of medical support and the ability for us to distribute humanitarian aid to a government of the scenario that we're following at the moment. So the exercise for me is, I've got a bit of a leadership role there. It's the first time in 10 years of COPE North that the Australians have been asked to lead the Hadar component of Exercise COPE North 20. That's not to say it's all down to me. I really rely on the collegiate support from the Deputy National Commanders of the Multinational Task Force from the CPCAPT and also the United States Air Force. But I guess my main responsibility is to make sure that the planning function is robust so that we can perform our mission, that the concept of operations is delivered to me in a timely fashion, but it's also accurate, that it will actually complement the mission in hand, and that our personnel go into theatre and outside of theatre so we can achieve the mission, but also people go in there, operate safely, and come back safely as well. Yeah, so what you'll see, first of all, at Tinian is a contingency response squadron that comprises of various capabilities. They secure an airhead for us really, and that provides a centre of gravity for us to work with government agencies to make sure that we're able to go out and distribute humanitarian aid. That could be water supplies, it could be food supplies, it could be medical supplies, anything really that our governments, our respective governments, ask us to put into theatre. At Rota, the island there, we've set up an aeromedical evacuation capability, so that's expeditionary medical, and they've got quite a sizable footprint there under another command of the contingency response element there belonging to the 36 Air Force Contingency Response Group. No, both Tinian, which is more about the distribution of humanitarian aid and disaster relief supplies going to the local population, and Rota, which is about aeromedical evacuation and expeditionary medical support. We are operating under the banner of COPE North, and what we're trying to do there is execute hub and spoke operations, so yes, they're definitely connected. Well, what we've been trying to do is learn on the lessons from previous COPE Norths, so observe them and then try and introduce them into future exercises. The difference really this year compared to previous years is we've stood up a functional operational headquarters that will conduct and execute and oversee those hub and spoke operations. As you can see here, we have got an expeditionary field environment. That's the operational headquarters for the MNTF. What we wanted to do was replicate the field environment before. The forces here have been fragmented at Andersen Air Force Base. Now they're under a collective umbrella. It means that people are encouraged to work together, and that's been working really well for us there. For me as a commander, well, I'm an expeditionary commander back in Australia. I'm involved in a lot of activities and operations already, and this is really aligned with what I do back in Australia. But it does mean that you've got to have the capabilities there ready to perform. They're all ready to go. We have our readiness notice activities and responsibilities in Australia. We've combined them with the CPCAPT in the United States Air Force. And one of the things for me as a commander here, coming over and conducting this exercise, I work very closely with the commanding officer of the 36 Contingency Response Group. I learned from him last year, and yeah, he set me up really well to try and lead the Multinational Task Force headquarters this year. Yeah, look, well, first of all, the biggest thing for us is a language barrier, because the our friends from the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. You know, they haven't got that common English language that the United States and the Australians have. So it's really important to make sure that they're, first of all, empowered to join us in the exercise, and that everything that we do when it comes to planning, intent, guidance, is all fully translated. And again, I think that's a bit of a difference this year. We've had to make that happen because we wanted to make sure that the Kokajirtai were very comfortable in sitting there in the mission planning, and they then had the confidence, because they understand everything going around them, that they're able to interject and make sure that they have a say in what goes on in this exercise, which is really important. The biggest takeaway for us on this exercise with the three nations here that I've already mentioned is the interoperability to conduct, whether it's large force employment, combat air force, or humanitarian aid and disaster relief operations. So that's what our people are picking up at the moment. Some of them aren't used to serving alongside other nations. Some are very experienced as well. We've got raw people here that never done exercises and operations before. And it's not just observing the atmospherics within a planning environment. They are learning on the march as they go along, talking to different members of a nationality, but also, more importantly, talking to their counterparts from one of those three nations, the Australians, the United States, or the Japanese, that all bring important parts and experience into the COPE North Party. So what we're trying to do as a collective force here with the three nations taking part in COPE North 20 is to align our techniques, our tactics, our procedures. We are here in real life to preserve peace and also to effect stability in the region. And working with the Japanese forces and the United States Air Forces, well, that deepens our collective understanding of each other and the way we operate, but also it enables us to respond to the region's priorities if we're required to do that.